In this video, I want to talk about playing on the original cartridge compared to playing, well, any other way, which is not like that. Now, for me, until not a long time ago, I wasn't playing original cartridges. I'm playing on the PC, on Nintendo Switch Online, and other ways. Later on, I went to the retro gaming store, fell in love with CRTs again, and since then, something opened up and I really craved to experience the classic games on original hardware. So, for example, I bought the Super Famicom. I also wanted it unmodded, just as is. And I bought cartridges for the games that I'm playing. So it brought me something special, but I wanted to understand the reason why it's actually important for me. I mean, might be a reason that maybe I don't understand. So in this video, we talk about that. And I also want to hear your reason, by the way, against or in favor of that. Here you can see me, for example, cleaning the cartridge of a game that I bought, Doremi Fantasy, for the Super Famicom. Actually, it didn't work, so I needed to clean it. So there are lots of obstacles, by the way. And I think the biggest obstacle is how expensive some of the games are, considering that they are very, very old games. Like this game, for example, it cost me just the price of a modern AAA game, even slightly more. But there are some games that are way more expensive, especially the SNES ones. So as much as I want to experience it on a physical hardware, there are some obstacle, an economical obstacle, let's call it like that. Alright, several reasons, some of them are more important than others, are tactile ownership and control, better sensor experience, nostalgia, preservation, not to a high degree, but also elevated emotional connection to the experience within. I really felt it, by the way. Here you can see me when I cleaned the game and then was able to launch, and inside was the hero waiting to launch, and when it actually appeared on the screen, it was quite fascinating. Not that I want to do this for every game, I'm just saying it was pretty special. Escape from the digital fatigue, definitely yes, kind of lo-fi satisfaction, and the media as a functional art and aesthetic appreciation also as well, by the way, with the cartridge itself, with the sticker. Now, we can, of course, just talk about the cartridge without actually mentioning the other things. And of course, I played this on the original hardware, even unmodded, with a CRT to really complete the experience. Now, there's also the psychological aspect of choice paralysis. So when I just pick up the cartridge, for example, and I just slot it into the console, in this case, let's say the Super Famicom, I'm kind of committed into the game. And I don't want to have the option even that I'm going to be, I just want to say to myself, it's too hard, I'm just going to use a rewind or save. I'll be very tempted, I have to be honest with you, for some games. But I also read that in actually some researchers that suggested that players with physical collection tend to spend more time mastering a single game rather than channel sorting through a list of ROMs and quitting at the first sign of difficulty. And I felt amazing after I was able to just finish the game as is. Again, depends. It's very subjective. For some people it might be easier, some other, depends on the game and your skill and so on. But it feels great once you are able to finish it. There's also the part of the appreciation of the art, the handcraft, that, when you see somebody actually doing something that they, it's not just, of course, one person in this case, it's just a collective. So many things that led to this actually printed eventually on this cartridge and then displayed on the CRT that just make it so magical. And by the way, it's very exciting to do this not just in gaming, in so many other artistic ways. But for me, the cartridge itself, which is the game itself, is more important than the console itself. So if I played on analog, for example, compared to the original hardware, it won't be as significant compared to owning the actual physical copy of the game. But some games, by the way, I'm still playing digitally, just so you know. It's not like I'm totally against it or anything like that. I'm not a purist or something. But just, playing on the original hardware kind of forces me to engage with the world, engage with the physical, that I just crave so much because everything around us is just so much virtualized. And I personally don't do this, but some people see this as an investment. Some of the games that you see right now, let's say it like that. You probably looked at one game that cost a lot, let's say a few hundreds of dollars, even some of them $1,000, but you told yourself, all right, I look at the price chart and like 10 years ago, I could have gotten it for nothing. And you just look at the price and you say, well, this could have been a very good investment. The thing is right now is going to be the same. If you look like 20 years from now, those games are going to be much more expensive. So it's actually a good investment. Now, another thing that when buying physical cartridges just make me feel safe. I mean, there are many games, of course, the servers can shut down. Even some games that have a combination of multiplayer and single player, and the servers are shut down. You won't be even to be able to access the single player in certain situations. Here, nobody can tell me what to do. I slot the game in and I played it. Now also, digital storefronts are kind of fluid environments, so where content sometimes can just disappear overnight due to maybe expired music licenses, trademark disputes, or corporate restructuring. So you actually can lose something you actually paid for. With cartridges, it won't happen. You just have it, it's yours, that's it. We all remember, of course, the closure of the Wii U and the 3DS eShops that wiped out all these legally accessible avenues for purchasing thousands of digital-only titles, instantly basically creating a class of lost media. And there are situations where it may be inactive for an account, it can just lead to the deletion of account and then you lose access to all of your games. The bottom line is that your physical cartridge is immune to these revocations. It provides perpetual access. It doesn't need to call home to gain access to ask for permission to play. It doesn't even care if the publisher has gone bankrupt or if the music license for the Interest King has expired. It preserves the game in its original legally released state. Now, as you know also, there are some storefronts that doesn't allow you to legally resell the game or transfer it, but when you have the cartridge, you can do whatever you want with it. It's actually a liquid asset. So this economic agency is a critical component of ownership that the cartridge itself maintains and the digital download destroys. And by the way, all that of course lead to the market for original cartridges to turn into something basically, not just the utility of just playing the game, but it actually evolved into a sophisticated collectibles market comparable to fine art. Now, this definitely increases the prices for these games significantly in the last 5 years. This is why so many other technologies are striving, because people just can't afford buying those games. Some of them, even if you can afford them, you won't be able to get them, some of the rarer ones. So we got into a weird situation where if you want to play a game, there is an option that you just won't be able to. And I'm not, of course, talking about multiplayer games and servers here. This is kind of very harsh reality for a person who loves maybe a certain game, but he just has no option to actually gain access to it. Again, I'm talking about getting the physical copy. So collectors pay basically for the psychological ownership and the tangible connection to history. Now, this is especially true as we move into the future, into where the digital versions are actually rented, to physical versions becoming the only way to hold the assets. Now, I also read that game design theorists, they argue that that rituals create a meaning and deepen engagement. I personally agree with that. I'm really connected with it. So the process of engaging with the cartridge, selecting it from a shelf, admiring the label art, physically inserting it into the console, feeling the mechanical resistance of the slot and flipping the power switch. It acts like a special ceremony. This physical process helps your brain move from your normal everyday life into the magic world of the game. So that ritual prepares the mind for the experience itself. The clank of the cartridge and the tactile resistance of the power button provide haptic confirmation of the event. In contrast, selecting a file from a digital disk is a frictionless, a utilitarian act that lacks this ceremonial weight. So the friction of the physical medium adds volume to the experience. Now, if you apply Waters' Benjamin seminal essay from 1935, The Work of Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction, it offers a profound philosophical framework for understanding retro gaming. Again, we're just applying it to it. So Benjamin argued that an original work of art possesses an aura, a unique presence in time and space that mechanical reproduction lack. So just to be clear, let's say a downloaded ROM file is a mechanical reproduction par excellence. It is data without the body, an infinitely copyable displaced from its origin and devoid of history. It has no aura. And then we have the cartridge as an authentic object. So it has history. It has cuff marks from previous owner. It contains a battery that might even cap a save file, even for 25 years. So it does possess an aura for the collector. So playing that specific cartridge connects them to the historical moment of the game's release in a way that playing a file on a PC cannot. Now, I totally agree because I definitely feel it. But let's say that I'm not totally religious in this aspect. But yeah, we give this meaning. Many of us give this meaning, and we are just, we are meaning creating machines, and we are giving meanings to many things in life, not of course just that. We do this all the time. You do this for many other things. Even if you don't give meanings to this, you're going to give meaning to something else. Now, there's also something that I also agree. It's kind of interesting. This is based on Jean Baudrillard's concept of simulacra. So it basically suggests that the society is increasingly composed of copies with no originals. Or in other words, it calls it hyper-realities, that they are more real than real. So modern emulation often strives for hyper-reality, upscale 4K graphics, texture smoothing, save states, and rewind features. And there is the purist resistance. You don't have to be, by the way, purist to understand this, of course, and to be part of it. But, the retro gamer basically who insists on the original cartridge is arguably engaging in an act of resistance against this hyper-reality. So they reject the sanitized or perfected version of the game in favor of the authentic experience, which of course includes the medium's inherent flaws like slowdowns, sprite flickering, composite video noise, etc. So this acceptance of the medium's limitation is central to the aesthetic appreciation of the art form. Now, basically, I don't see myself on any of the sides of the extreme. I can just be part of it here and certain point there. I'm kind of a mix between the two, but I definitely can understand and relate to it. Now, sometimes there's enjoy mixing and matching, just playing, for example, on my Sony PVM, and definitely without composite, actually with SCART RGB, or in this case RGBA, which leads of course to much sharper image, and this is no close of course to how the game is intended to look, the authentic look, but this is just because I really like how it looks. So what I'm trying to say, that at a certain point, although we are playing on the original cartridge, it doesn't really, for certain games, it doesn't really matter for me how the developer actually intended the game to look, because if it actually looks that great without intention, well, that's something magical. I mean, imagine that they didn't even maybe plan for the game to look like that, but it still looks amazing. Go figure. Now, there also aspect, by the way, for speedrunners, they want to, just compete with the original and the standard. I'm not going to dive into it. There are lots of technical details here, but there's one reason for some people speedrunning to play on the original hardware. Now, there's also something that I'm personally not going to do it, but there's also this physical glitch, the cartridge tilting. It's kind of a unique phenomenon that is exclusively to the physical media, where by just slightly dislodging the cartridge. I think typically it was with the N64 and NAS. While we're actually playing, basically players can interrupt specific data pins while leaving the power pins connected, and this actually corrupts the data flow in real time, leading to really bizarre chaotic glitches. Like for example, the flooring in Super Mario 64, where kind of model collapse, and there are other examples which are pretty crazy. So even that particular form of secret bending is kind of an art form unique to physical medium, whether you decide to experience or not. Now, I just want to add that Mesochrome cartridges are exceptionally durable, but I can't say something like that, for example, on CD. This is why, buying something on CD is very, very risky. I mean, if you take, for example, CDs and DVD, they suffer from disc rot. They can get scratches, of course. This is, by the way, the disc rot is where the reflected aluminum layers oxidizes, and then definitely just rendering the disc unreadable. So what people do, they own the game physically, but what they do, they actually dump the ROM and the save file to an SD card, so they can actually play it. And some people even prefer, once they get the physical media, not to even touch it, just to transfer the ROM and then just play on the ROM, because they don't want to risk their cartridge or the CD actually getting ruined. So this is a problem, you see, because you already own the cartridge, but you won't be playing on it because you just want to preserve it. But of course, you can definitely understand this, for example, from copyright reasons, when you want to play a game that you actually bought, but really you don't want to risk the game of actually getting ruined from one way or another physically. But again, if you are a purist, you're not actually playing the original. In some degree, you can maybe fool yourself saying that. I mean, you do ruin the ritual. Well, if you do, you understand that. So for some people, it's a compromise and they just enjoy the middle ground. So of course it won't matter if the game is just $20, but if you bought the game for, I don't know, $1,000, well, you're gonna do your own risk whether you want to play this on your console or whether you're gonna just dump the ROM and just keep the original somewhere safe. And trust me, it gets more complicated than this, and there are very different aspects of this. For example, if you decide to buy a game that is exclusive to Japan, a Super Famicom game, I might not even be able to play it because I don't understand Japanese. There's some even games that, although you can play them if you don't know Japanese, just English, but if you, I mean, it doesn't matter actually which language you know, but there are some situations, like for example, boss fight in the game that I read, that if you don't know Japanese, you can't really do it because it's kind of a puzzle game. Some of the bosses like puzzle, that you need to match the word to a certain thing that you see on the screen. Anyway, those little things that make you kind of, oh, I really want to play this game, but you know, might be some complications. And if I buy the game, for example, and decide just, you know, to extract the ROM, maybe I can put something on it, kind of a translation, when I simulate it rather than playing the original cartridge. There are always these type of considerations. That's something that, although you own the original game, still, you know, you might not be able to enjoy it fully. But at the end of the day, when I look at it, again, I do enjoy playing original cartridges, but I'm not locking myself for just playing it on the original cartridge. Some of the games I do play on PC, for example, Chrono Trigger, I played on Steam. Mario 3, for example, I played on the Nintendo Switch Online. Wonder Boy, I bought the entire collection, the anniversary, on Switch. So again, I'm not really tying myself to just physical media. But I'm still a believer in this ritual. You don't get me wrong. I really enjoyed it. It fills me up. So I don't need to do this all the time, but when I'm doing this, it just gives me great pleasure. So if you have anything to add in the comment section, it was a long ride. I just wanted to spill it in everything here. And this is a very interesting topic, by the way. Very important topic, by the way, because it really dictates everything. Whether we can buy the console, buy the games, the prices, other technologies that evolve because of it, talking about digital media, the aspects of copyright and content ownership, and so many things that basically impact the experience for us one way or another. Thanks for watching.